Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Firstly, thank you to those who've subscribed. Thank you for the kind comments. It's much appreciated. So as I mentioned in previous videos, I've had a couple of people ask me to expand a little bit on the exposure triangle around aperture, shutter speed and ISO. I did a video on aperture. That was my previous video. So if you haven't watched that, I would suggest you go and watch that one. This one, we're going to talk a bit about shutter speed. And all I've done is really set up a little, I suppose, demonstration, just rolling this board, I beg your pardon, rolling this ball down my surfboard and then taking photos of it at various shutter speeds. Now, like with aperture has a practical functionality in as much as it's controlled in the lens, right? And the practical use for aperture is you can control how much light comes in, and by having that control we can also create a particular effect, which they call bokeh, and I explained that in the video. Similar situation with shutter speed. The shutter speed happens its settings rather sits in the camera, right? So after the lights pass through the lens, through the aperture, right, it's greeted by a sensor. Okay, I beg your pardon, it's greeted by a shutter, and the shutter we can then control how long or how short that opening needs to be. You understand? And depending on the length of time of that opening, that determines how much light hits the sensor behind it, you see. So light comes through, we've controlled our aperture, we know what we want to do there. Now we got to determine our shutter speed, and the primary thing that's going to determine shutter speed is when we look at our subject and we ask the question, is the subject stationary or is the subject moving? If the subject's moving, we've got to set a fast shutter speed to freeze that action. If it's stationary, shutter speed doesn't become that critical, you know, but obviously you must always use a decent shutter speed, especially the slower shutter speeds. You obviously want to be using a tripod, you know. But if subjects are typically moving, you want to go for your higher shutter speeds, depending on what the subject is doing. I did a bit of a test yesterday with the Lumix G9. I put my drone on, and we all know what those propellers spin like, and I set it up to its highest shutter speed, which is like 32,000 something, and it managed to freeze those props, which I'll show at the end of the tennis ball example. So as you can see, and I'm sure that changes with different cameras, you get shutter speeds that can go up probably a lot higher. We've all seen those shots of a motorbike coming around, you know, a corner on a racetrack, and it's completely frozen, a surfer with the water spraying in mid shot and it's completely frozen. There's countless examples of that. Formula One, skiing, boat racing, you name it. Shutter speed becomes crucial for moving objects. But like with aperture, okay, it lends itself to a creative slant too. So does shutter speed. Okay, and you've seen light trails of cars, that beautiful shots. You've seen astronomy photos where there's this trail of light arcing around the sky, and that's all done with the shutter speed and the control of shutter speed. So it's kind of important knowing that, and then the correlation between aperture, shutter speed and ISO, and I'll do a short little video on ISO in the next one. But this short little demonstration, I hope it sort of encapsulates what shutter speed is all about. And I mean, you can take this tennis ball moving down the board, and you can come up with countless other examples to mimic this type of scenario. So you got to have a play, investigate, test your camera, test your lenses, test your gear, test these concepts, prove it for yourself, and then you'll see what it looks like. So look, let's jump onto the computer here, and I'll have a quick show and tell around what that experiment looked like, and then we'll wrap it up.
Alright guys, I just set up this makeshift sort of tracks using 2 broomsticks here, and I'm just rolling a tennis ball down it. As you can see, it just went by there quickly, and then showing the various effects at different shutter speeds, starting at 1/4, then 1/8, then 1/20th, 1/40th, 1/80th, 1/60th, 320th of a second, 640, 1250, 2000, 4000, and then finally at 8000.
So there you can see some examples of shutter speed in a real simple sort of a demonstration. But like I said, you can take that and apply it to different things. Take your camera outside, watch a car come past, take a photo at X amount of shutter speed, change it, drop it right down again, take another one. You know, it's as simple as that. People running, whatever the case may be, there's countless ways to experience it for yourself. Anyway guys, so I'm going to wrap it up there. Like I said, aperture to zoom, we've covered aperture, we've covered shutter speed. Let's get this exposure triangle stuff out of the way, and then I'm going to go through other concepts that we need to sort of have a decent understanding about when it comes to photography. You know, composition, depth of field, exposure, focal length, histograms, and I'll run from A to Z. And then as we progress, and the most important thing is putting these things into practice, taking the camera, getting out and about and taking photos. Watching these videos is always good, helpful, but they signposts that point you to practice. That's what it comes down to. So I'm a bit guilty of that too. Sometimes, you know, you get caught up with work and blah, 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 and you can't really do as much photography as you like. But these are all lessons in life. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Comment if you've got something out of it, please. If you think I could have done it better, if there's anything that I've missed, because by my own admission, I'm learning too. I make no apologies for that. So yeah, I look forward to making the next one, and like I said, hit the like button, subscribe if you're enjoying these videos, and we will catch up in the next one. See you then. Bye bye.